Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube page, where I'm continuing my College Bowl previews. I'll be previewing every single College Bowl game, all 35 of them right here. So be sure to subscribe to my page here on YouTube to get all of my bowl previews and all of my daily sports talk videos delivered directly to your inbox. In the New Orleans Bowl, Louisiana-Lafayette, the Ragin Cajuns, will be playing the East Carolina Pirates. Both come in with a record of 8-4 in this game. East Carolina comes in as representatives for Conference USA, and Louisiana-Lafayette comes in representing the Sun Belt Conference. As far as East Carolina goes, they represent Conference USA. Conference USA is a conference tonight, as we speak, that is being represented very well by the University of Central Florida, with whom East Carolina was tied with for their division in Conference USA. However, since Central Florida clobbered East Carolina, they won the tiebreaker and eventually lost to Tulsa in the Conference USA championship game. But for East Carolina, they feature a very balanced offensive attack, but I think they're the typical kind of team that beats the teams they should beat, loses the teams they should lose to, and basically looks really good against the teams they're better than, looks really bad against the teams they're not as good at or equal to. The one thing that unnerves me about East Carolina is their blowout losses. Blowout losses to South Carolina, North Carolina, Central Florida, as I just said, and also Navy. That Navy one kind of perplexes me a little bit and makes me a little bit nervous because I watched the Army-Navy game, and while those Navy kids play hard for 60 minutes of the game, I don't think that's a Navy team like we've seen the last decade, or like the ones we're used to seeing for the last decade. So that loss troubles me, but they do feature a very high-powered offense. They won their last game 65-59 versus Marshall. So any team that's capable of putting up 65 points in a game is obviously a high-powered offense, but you have to remember on the flip side, any team that's capable of getting blown out like they have in 4 games and letting up 59 points to Marshall is also a team that plays bad defense. So it's sort of a double-edged sword there. I think Conference USA as a whole was a little bit down this year. I think they were top-heavy. I think Central Florida and Tulsa are legitimately good football teams. But I think even though East Carolina went 7-1 in the league, I think it's a little bit I don't think they're a true upper echelon Conference USA team that we're used to seeing here in years past, just mainly because of their defense. I think their defense is, and the numbers bear this out, whether it's running, rush defense, passing defense, very susceptible in both cases. They're going to face a Lafayette team that, let's face it, has a dual-threat quarterback, can run the ball as well, and those are the kind of quarterbacks that are going to give teams like East Carolina the most trouble. I think Lafayette surpasses them, or at least matches them in the athleticism department, which is something I look for. Is, okay, your league, your records are one thing. I don't completely throw them out when I'm evaluating these games, but I take into account who'd you play, how'd you play them, what is your overall athleticism in for both your school and your conference. Basically trying to judge the level of opponents they played rather than just focusing on the record. And what really stands out for Lafayette, okay, is they've won 4 of their last 5 games, and the one loss they had was to Florida. They only lost to the University of Florida by 1 touchdown, and this was at a time where the University of Florida was peaking. Okay, this was late in the season. It wasn't the early version of Florida, early in the season, where we saw them struggle in some games. This is the later second half of the season version of Florida that Lafayette hung with and sort of raised a lot of people's eyebrows in the process. When you add to that the fact that Lafayette has beaten 2 bowl teams this year in Western Kentucky and Louisiana-Monroe, while, as we displayed before and mentioned before, East Carolina has no wins versus bowl teams. So again, to me, that's a pretty big factor here, and the fact that Lafayette they have one real bad blowout loss early in the season to Oklahoma State. But again, they're not the only team that Oklahoma State, a Big 12 team, scored a lot of points on. So I look to see how a team matures throughout the year. I've seen that in Lafayette. I've seen a win 4 of their last 5 games. Play Florida tough, and that Florida game is what really sticking out to me here, and the fact that East Carolina, I don't see really a quality win that they've had all season. So in this game, the spread is 6.5. Lafayette's a 6.5 point favorite. So I like Lafayette minus the 6.5 versus East Carolina in the New Orleans Bowl. I look for the Ragin Cajuns to win the New Orleans Bowl. They're closer to home. They should have the home field advantage here. Should have more of their fans there than East Carolina fans. I don't take too much stock in home field advantage in bowl games, but that's just something to point out to you guys. Like San Diego State the other night, it was pretty much a home game for them against BYU, and look how that turned out. So, not picking Lafayette because of the home field advantage, just for the reasons I said before. Lafayette minus 6.5 versus East Carolina in the New Orleans Bowl. So be sure to check out my other previews here, and you can always catch me on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis, and be sure to subscribe to my page. Thank you.